Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was from the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California. And we are 2 weeks away from the glorified Saudi Arabia house show, as I would call it, the Super Showdown. So we are 2 weeks away from that pay-per-view. And Monday Night Raw tonight, I thought it was just a very meh show, in my opinion. I mean, there was some stuff on tonight's Raw that I really liked. But overall, some of the matches, they were just very meh, in my opinion. Overall, very meh Monday Night Raw tonight. But let's get started with the review. So Monday Night Raw opened up tonight. We saw Seth Rollins, AOP, and Buddy Murphy. No, I am not calling him, Murphy, because WWE ended up removing Buddy Murphy's, name, the first name, Buddy, and now he's just called Murphy. It reminds me of when he was in NXT when, it was Blake and Murphy. But, Buddy Murphy, just the name to it sounds, pretty good for him. But WWE, once again, changing names, removing Buddy from his name, and then now we're just gonna have to call him Murphy. No, I'm still gonna call him Buddy Murphy. So they were in the ring. Seth Rollins was on the mic. He ended up welcoming everyone to Monday Night Raw, and he ended up saying that he's proud to stand here as our Monday Night Messiah. So Seth ended up talking about how he didn't like the new nickname at first, but, now it is growing on him, with the Monday Night Messiah name. Says he understands he has to lead the people because they can't do for themselves. So Seth ended up showing, footage from the six-man tag from last week, with the Viking Raiders and Kevin Owens versus AOP and Buddy Murphy. So after that, that recap footage, was over. Seth Rollins went on about how he's frustrated with Kevin Owens and the Viking Raiders. And Rollins ended up saying they aren't leaving the ring. Him, AOP, and Buddy Murphy, they aren't leaving the ring until their message is heard. So out came Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens came out. He ended up saying to Seth Rollins that, Seth Rollins comes out every week and it's the same thing. And Owens ended up bringing out the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar. So they end up going to the ring. Buddy Murphy and AOP were at ringside. They end up brawling. AOP, Buddy Murphy, Kevin Owens, and the Viking Raiders. They end up brawling at ringside on the floor. Seth Rollins was still in the ring. He was watching the brawl. And then from out of nowhere, Samoa Joe comes from behind, locks in the coquina clutch on Seth Rollins. The crowd popped for that. So Samoa Joe, is back. He was, he had that, I think, like that WWE wellness thing that Andrade has been suspended for, but for some reason, Samoa Joe is back. So But Buddy Murphy and AOP end up, saving Seth Rollins. Viking Raiders and Kevin Owens, enter the ring. The brawl continues. And Kevin Owens ends up delivering a stunner to Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy is, out of the ring. And pretty much that's basically how the segment ended. But, pretty okay segment to open Raw tonight. Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah himself, Seth Rollins, and AOP and Buddy Murphy. This whole Monday Night Messiah with Seth Rollins, I'm really liking the role for him. This role for Seth Rollins. Hopefully it doesn't get, stale, as, it progresses with Seth Rollins. Because then it's going to get old really fast. It's going to be the same shit that Seth Rollins is always, saying. Oh, I'm your Monday Night Messiah. Kevin Owens. And the Viking Raiders. So let's not hope WWE gets stale, with Seth Rollins and this, his whole, Monday Night Messiah role that, he has. And then after the segment was over, Becky Lynch ended up coming out. Becky Lynch ended up having her match with Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Title was on the line. So Becky Lynch was in the ring. Monday Night Raw went to commercial as she was entering the ring. Then when Monday Night Raw came back, Becky was in the ring. Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane ended up coming out. Asuka was on the mic. She was yelling in Japanese. She was just laughing. And everyone, was like, oh, what is Asuka, talking about? Like that, confused look on their faces. So Asuka ended up getting the Stone Cold Steve Austin what treatment from the crowd. And the match ended up getting underway. It was back and forth between Becky and Asuka. This match, wasn't terrible by any means. It was an okay match. Back and forth between Asuka and Becky. You had Asuka, blocking a pin attempt. Becky ended up grounding Asuka with a side headlock. And Becky Lynch ended up dropping Asuka with a big shoulder. And, we had Kairi Sane. She was on the ring apron. Kairi Sane was taunting at Becky. Becky ended up going for a big boot to Kairi. And Kairi ended up jumping off of the ring apron back to the floor. And that's when Asuka ended up taking advantage of the match. And she ended up knocking Becky to the floor with a hip attack. Then Raw went to commercial. Then when Raw came back, we saw Asuka was still in control of the match. Becky ended up fighting back. Asuka ended up hitting another hip attack to Becky. Asuka kept on charging into Becky, but Becky ended up fighting back. Becky then delivered a series of clotheslines to Asuka and also a drop kick. And then we had some back and forth between them. Becky ended up blocking a German suplex from Asuka. Asuka then avoided the disarmer that Becky was trying to lock the disarmer on her. And at the end of the match, there was a point where Becky Lynch applied the disarmer to Asuka on the ring ropes, and Becky ended up beating Asuka, went for the pin. There you go. Becky ended up winning the match, of course, and retained the Raw Women's Championship. I'm like, it was predictable. There was no way that Asuka was taking the title off of Becky. It was predictable. We all knew going into this match that Becky was retaining. Of course. Overall, it was an okay women's match between Becky and Asuka for the title. Even though the outcome, we all knew that Becky was retaining. Post-match, you had former NXT Women's Champion, Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler ends up attacking Becky from behind. Shayna Baszler, one of my favorites. And Shayna ends up attacking Becky. And Shayna then bites Becky's neck. Bites the back of Becky's neck. Becky is heard screaming, and when Shayna picks her head back up, her mouth is all blooded up. So it looked like, I'm like, oh, what is Shayna, a vampire now? She's biting the back of Becky's neck. So Shayna ends up screaming. The referees end up checking on Becky. Becky is rolling around in pain. Fans were heard booing Shayna. She ended up marching up the ramp. And Becky is talking with one of the referees. There's blood everywhere. We saw blood in her hair. And the referee ended up putting on his glove, end up tending to Becky. Paramedics end up coming down to check on Becky. We hear Becky say that, she's fine. And she ended up yelling at one of the paramedics to take it easy. They tried to check on, the wound that Shayna ended up giving Becky by biting her. But all in all, this was very crazy. Really liked it. And, it sets up, Becky versus Shayna. Which this is definitely going to be a interesting match to check out. All in all, really liked, this between Shayna and Becky. And Shayna biting the back of Becky's neck. Everybody's going to be like, oh, that's not PG. But this had some, attitude era, material here. In my opinion. And then Raw went to commercial, and they did the split, screen, with the commercial playing and what's going on, on the other side, like what they did for SmackDown and what AEW does on Wednesday nights. So I thought that was cool. WWE ends up bringing back the picture-in-picture, with the commercial playing and us, seeing what goes on when the show is at commercial. So it was shown, Becky going to the back. Paramedics, were walking her to the back. And then we went to the Street Profits versus Mojo Rawley and Riddick Moss. Did not give a shit about this match. Remember when the Street Profits were cool? And Street Profits end up getting the win, defeated Mojo Rawley and Riddick Moss. Easy win for the Street Profits. And then Mojo Rawley and Riddick Moss were still in the ring. Riddick Moss then rolls up Mojo Rawley. And Riddick Moss wins the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 championship. And then Riddick Moss runs, over the barricade into the crowd. Yeah, that was that. Did not give a shit. Fuck the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 title. Fuck that title. And WWE is still taking their time to retire this title. I don't know why they haven't even retired it yet. Did they just change their minds and, they want this title to be featured more and more and more? Fuck this title. Fuck it. So, then we saw Becky Lynch. She was backstage. She was arguing with the officials and also paramedics. And she ends up stealing the ambulance. So she gets in the ambulance, drives the ambulance away, sirens on, and she just drives off. Which was funny, in my opinion. Shows that Becky Lynch could drive herself to the hospital, get checked out. Ultimate badass, Becky Lynch. And then we had the return of the VIP Lounge by MVP. So MVP was out there for the VIP Lounge. It's been a while, since, we saw, a VIP Lounge segment. So MVP goes on and introduces his guest. His guest was Drew McIntyre, the 2020 Men's Royal Rumble winner. So out came Drew McIntyre. Fans end up popping for Drew McIntyre. And Drew end up marching down the ramp. And he gets stopped by two guys at the bottom of the ramp. And these guys weren't going to let McIntyre through the red ropes for him to get in the ring. These guys want to check if McIntyre's name is on the guest list. So McIntyre didn't want any of that, so he powered his way through these two guys, and he ended up getting into the ring. So MVP ended up giving McIntyre some props for doing things his own way. He goes on to mention about the WrestleMania match between him and Brock Lesnar. And of course, since WrestleMania was mentioned, of course, you can't say WrestleMania without pointing to the WrestleMania sign, because this is WrestleMania season, and I always call it the point to the sign season because of WrestleMania season, where you have superstars pointing to the sign every single year. So MVP ends up wanting McIntyre to keep his eye on the prize and ignore what the non-VIP people are saying behind his back. So MVP went on about how some people think McIntyre isn't ready to be champion. McIntyre, in my opinion, this guy is ready to be champion. I mean, take a look at the guy. Everybody wanted McIntyre to be champion when, he was a heel and he was dominating. But WWE, didn't want to put the title around him. But, he goes on to say that, everybody thinks that McIntyre isn't ready to be champion. So MVP goes on, and there's tension brewing between MVP and McIntyre. MVP ended up saying that he wants to be McIntyre's business manager to help guide him. McIntyre ended up saying to MVP, "Oh, that's the catch." And MVP here, he was, acting, like a heel here, which got, fans booing MVP. So McIntyre ended up saying maybe MVP could be his Paul Heyman. MVP then agreed with McIntyre on that, but he would be a much better looking version. So McIntyre ended up saying the difference between him and Lesnar is that he doesn't need an external brain thinking it for him, someone talking for him, or a business partner, kissing his ass like MVP. So MVP ended up saying that McIntyre knows better and that he's never been an ass kisser, but he is an ass kicker. So both MVP and McIntyre end up facing off. McIntyre then went to leave. MVP grabs McIntyre's arm and tells him not to turn his back because McIntyre needs MVP. So McIntyre ends up headbutting MVP, and McIntyre ends up taking his shirt and jacket off. Fans were popping for him. He does the whole 3 countdown, 3, 2, 1. And then he drops MVP with the Claymore. MVP gets sent over the couch from the Claymore kick that McIntyre ended up delivering to him. And then McIntyre is shown mocking MVP's, balling. So McIntyre end up posing in the corner. Once again, points to the WrestleMania sign. And that was pretty much basically how the segment ended. But overall, this segment was very meh, in my opinion. And this will probably set off Drew McIntyre versus MVP. MVP, it's gonna be them two. I just know it. It's probably gonna take place at Super Showdown. And boy, do I not want to see MVP back in the ring after what we saw on Monday Night Raw after the Royal Rumble when he competed against Rey Mysterio. MVP just looked so out of place. He was moving slow. But hopefully, we don't see that. Hopefully we don't see McIntyre versus MVP. But who knows? WWE might as well book it for Super Showdown. I wouldn't be surprised. So then, after that, we saw Angel Garza and Zelina Vega came out. Cedric Alexander was in the ring. And Zelina Vega ended up getting on the mic. She ended up showing us how Angel Garza debuted on Monday Night Raw last week by taking out his cousin, Humberto Carrillo. And then how Garza went at it with Rey Mysterio. So we saw that. And then Angel Garza ends up taking the mic, ends up talking trash, and then Humberto Carrillo runs out to the ring. he ends up tackling his cousin, Angel Garza. Carrillo ends up punching Garza. Officials and security end up coming to the ring to pull Carrillo off of Garza. And Carrillo was held back by the officials and security. And Zelina Vega and Garza were taunting Humberto from ringside. And the referee ended up telling Garza to get into the ring. So then we had the match, Angel Garza versus Cedric Alexander, which the match itself, it was a pretty short match, in my opinion. And we had Cedric go to attack Angel Garza. The referee ended up backing him off. Zelina Vega ended up distracting Cedric, and that's when Garza ended up taking advantage. He ended up dropping Cedric, and Cedric ended up turning around. Garza ended up breaking, it with a back headbutt to Cedric Alexander. Angel Garza then ended up sending Cedric to the apron. Cedric ended up coming back, ended up hitting a Hurricanrana to Angel Garza. Cedric then ended up delivering clotheslines to Garza and starts kicking at Garza. Fans end up cheering Cedric Alexander on. Cedric then ended up hitting a running forearm in the corner and ended up delivering a big drop kick to Garza. And at the end of the match, Garza ended up hitting the wing clipper to Cedric Alexander. And there you go. Angel Garza ends up winning the match. But Angel Garza, really enjoy this guy. He is awesome in the ring. He reminds me, and I said this before, he reminds me of, a little bit of Eddie Guerrero. Even though, nobody could be, Eddie Guerrero. So, but Angel Garza, reminds me of him, of Eddie, a little bit. Just all the wrestling that Garza does. Overall, it was a short match between Garza and Cedric Alexander. So then we had Charlie Caruso. Charlie Caruso, she was backstage with the NXT Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley. And she was asking if she's still waiting for an answer from Charlotte. If Charlotte wants to face Rhea at WrestleMania. Rhea ends up telling Caruso, no, she hasn't heard an answer from Charlotte. Because she gets up, gets out, and does what needs to be done. So Charlie Caruso ends up mentioning, about the TakeOver Portland match with Bianca Belair, which is going to be, I think, on Saturday. It's going to be this upcoming Saturday, NXT TakeOver Portland, which, I am looking forward to. These NXT, TakeOver shows, they never disappoint. I remember going to, my very first TakeOver show, which was NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, and that was a awesome show. And, takeovers never disappoint. And, I think NXT TakeOver Portland is on the 16th. So, I think that is, if I can put my glasses on my calendar here. Yeah, that's not on Saturday. It's actually on Sunday. So usually takeovers are on Saturday. So I guess February 16th, this Sunday, NXT TakeOver Portland, will take place. And I'm looking forward to it, even though I got to work that night on Sunday night. But we'll still get a chance to watch it, the next day. So, anyways, Charlie ended up bringing up NXT TakeOver Portland, the match that Rhea Ripley's going to have with Bianca Belair. And then Sarah Logan comes and interrupts the interview. Sarah Logan isn't happy with Rhea Ripley there. She was like, "Oh, you think you could just come to Monday Night Raw, and show up here?" And Rhea Ripley ends up knocking at Sarah Logan, saying, "Who are you?" And then Rhea Ripley walks off. Now it's basically that. But cool to see Rhea Ripley, as always. One of my favorites. And, Rhea Ripley, in my opinion, my prediction for NXT TakeOver Portland in our match with Bianca Belair, I think she is retaining the NXT Women's Championship. And I think Bianca Belair, she is going to be called up to the main roster on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. And why do I say that? Because her husband, Montez Ford of the Street Profits, is on Monday Night Raw. So, WWE, of course, is keeping, the superstars, who are married or in a relationship on the same brand. So Bianca Belair is going to be part of the Monday Night Raw roster after WrestleMania. Then, after that, we had Sarah Schreiber. Sarah Schreiber, she was backstage with Lana and Bobby Lashley. And I was ready to mute the TV, of course. And she was commenting on Bobby Lashley's match that he's going to have with Ricochet. And we had Lashley, he's like getting annoyed, with, possibly, like the Lana, with him and Lana situation. And Lashley ends up saying he will reintroduce Ricochet to reality. And that he won't make it, that Ricochet won't make it to Super Showdown to face Brock Lesnar. Well, Ricochet might not make it to Super Showdown because he's going to get jobbed to Brock Lesnar. He's going to be jobbing to Brock Lesnar. No way in hell Ricochet's winning the WWE Championship at Super Showdown. It's a joke. It's a joke. Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar should face off at Super Showdown, not Ricochet. Why do you think? I said this last week. Why do you think Bobby Lashley came back to the WWE? Because he wants to have a match with Brock Lesnar. But WWE is not granting him his wish to face Brock Lesnar. This is the only reason why Bobby Lashley came back to WWE. And, it should have been Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar at Super Showdown. But WWE wants to go with Ricochet only for Ricochet to job to Brock Lesnar. It's a joke. Every time I think of Ricochet versus Brock Lesnar at Super Showdown, I fucking laugh. And I can't wait to laugh at Super Showdown, seeing Ricochet job to Brock Lesnar. Man, can you believe how WWE has messed up Ricochet? This guy was once special when he was in NXT. Brought him up to the main roster. Now he is just one of those superstars on Monday Night Raw. Just like every other superstar on that roster. So then we see, oh, I forgot to mention, Bobby Lashley ended up saying that Brock Lesnar can thank him for this one. And then that was pretty much basically it. Then we had Sarah Logan versus Rhea Ripley. Short match. Sarah Logan ended up coming out. She was on the mic. This was before the match started. She had words for Rhea Ripley, and she introduced herself to Rhea Ripley, saying, "I am Sarah Logan." So out came Rhea Ripley, and then out came Charlotte. Charlotte, the robot Flair, or Charlotte Reigns, as I would say. So Charlotte was shown waving at Rhea Ripley from the stage. Bell rang. Sarah Logan ended up attacking Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley then got the upper hand. Rhea ended up dominating on Sarah Logan. Rhea Ripley ended up drop kicking Sarah Logan. Charlotte was shown clapping from the stage. Rhea Ripley ended up hitting the Riptide to Sarah Logan. There you go. Rhea Ripley ended up winning the match. Squash match. Short match. Rhea Ripley wins. So, post-match, Rhea Ripley takes the mic, and she wants to know what Charlotte's answer is going to be. Rhea Ripley ends up saying that she's gone to Raw, and Charlotte showed up on NXT last week. But we still haven't got an answer from Charlotte. And Charlotte ended up saying, maybe that's just how the Queen operates. Rhea ended up saying, maybe Charlotte just likes being a royal pain. So Charlotte ended up interrupting, and she ended up saying she has a question before she answers Rhea's question. Charlotte ended up asking, how do we know that Rhea will still be the champion after her TakeOver Portland match with Bianca Belair on Sunday? Sorry about that. I was saying, Charlotte was saying, oh, how do we know that Rhea will still be the champion after her TakeOver Portland match with Bianca Belair on Sunday? So Charlotte ends up doing, woo at Rhea from the stage. And that was pretty much basically that. Still, we haven't got no answer from Charlotte. She wants to face Rhea at WrestleMania. Still no answer. Charlotte maybe might give her answer possibly next month. Little bit weeks before WrestleMania that Charlotte might give her answer. But who knows? That's my prediction. So then it was announced that earlier today, WrestleMania next year, WrestleMania 37, is going to be held in Los Angeles. And WWE hasn't had a WrestleMania in LA since 2005, since WrestleMania 21. Which WrestleMania 21 was the very first WrestleMania I ever watched, because in 2005, that's when I started watching the WWE pay-per-views. I started with Royal Rumble in 2005, up till the last pay-per-view of the year, which was Armageddon. So pretty much watched every pay-per-view from 2005 onward to present, because back in 2002, 2003, my family only had one cable box, and that was basically in the living room. So I didn't have the chance to tape the pay-per-views from like the previous years, like before 2005. But I have to say, I really like the WrestleMania 37 logo that they unveiled. Pretty awesome. So they showed a promo for that. Then we had Ricochet versus Bobby Lashley, which the match itself, it was a decent match. It was back and forth between Ricochet and Lashley, and Charlie Caruso. Before the match, Charlie Caruso was with Ricochet. She was asking Ricochet about Lashley's threats from earlier. Ricochet ended up telling Charlie Caruso that he isn't concerned and says he's never backed down from a fight and doesn't plan to start. He said he has dreamed of being the WWE champion for 17 years, and nothing will stop him from the biggest opportunity of his career. He ends up saying nothing will stop him from walking, crawling, or limping into Super Showdown. So his music ended up hitting. He came to the ring. Commentators end up saying that this match was presented by the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So yeah, the match was presented by the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which, I'm kind of, I want to check it out. I want to check out the film. It comes out this week. Could be an okay, fun, time waster movie. I think Jim Carrey is going to make that movie, a little bit enjoyable with him playing Robotnik. So I like the design, the new design for Sonic that they went with, not with the old design, which looked fucking shitty, made Sonic look terrible. But that's for if I do see the movie, I'll say that in my movie review of that. But the match started. Ricochet ended up attacking Bobby Lashley in the corner. Ricochet ended up trying to get offense on Lashley. Lashley ended up dropping Ricochet into the corner. There was a point in the match where Lashley was going to deliver a superplex from the top, and Ricochet ended up landing on his feet, which was awesome. Even Lana was surprised by that. But Ricochet then ended up unloading with kicks to Bobby Lashley in the corner. Lashley went down. Ricochet ended up going to the top. Fans were popping for him. And Ricochet ends up winning the match, hitting the 630 to Lashley. So there you go. Ricochet ended up winning the match. And then Lana was throwing a fit at ringside. So all in all, it was a decent match between Ricochet and Lashley. Then we had Randy Orton come out. And Randy Orton came to the ring. Fans were booing him. He looks around the arena like he did last week. Orton takes the mic. He ended up saying that he still owes everyone an explanation for what he did 2 weeks ago to Edge. Orton ended up saying what he did to Edge hurt him more than it did to Edge. So out came Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy ended up interrupting Randy Orton. And pretty much this was basically Matt Hardy's farewell in WWE. And his contract is up on March 1st. And I heard on a site, on like Ringside News, which, Ringside News, you can't believe everything that they put out. But I heard that Matt Hardy is trying to negotiate with WWE with the new contract. Like I said, his contract is up on March 1st. I think he's not going to sign a new contract. I think after this, he is going to AEW. But Matt Hardy came out. Fans were chanting delete. Matt Hardy gets on the mic. And he ended up saying that he and everyone else wants to know why Orton did it. Why Orton attacked Edge. So Matt says, Matt ends up saying Orton is probably thinking, why does Matt give a damn about Edge? So Matt Hardy ends up talking about his history with Edge. And, fans were heard chanting Lita. If you remember the rivalry, the feud between Matt Hardy and Edge, I think back in like 2005, around there. This was before Edge had that feud with John Cena. First Edge had his feud with Matt Hardy, then he moved on to John Cena. And Matt ends up saying that there was a time where he absolutely hated Edge. And he says, but before that, he and Jeff were really close with Edge and Christian. He went on to say about how they revolutionized the ladder match. Of course, and fans were chanting TLC. Of course, they revolutionized, the whole ladder match. It became a, staple in WWE. It will be a staple. The TLC ladder match will be a staple in WWE forever, as what Matt ended up saying. Matt ended up saying that they went to WrestleMania a few times and stole the show multiple times. And they did it together. And Matt Hardy ended up going on about Edge's retirement and how he finally made the most miraculous return, 9 years later. And he ends up saying Orton took that away. So Matt Hardy ended up telling Randy Orton to look at him. And Matt ended up asking what the hell is wrong with him, with Randy Orton. Orton ends up going to speak, tries to hit the RKO to Matt Hardy, but Matt Hardy ended up blocking it. Matt Hardy's throwing punches. Orton ends up blocking a side effect from Matt Hardy. And then Orton ends up dropping Matt Hardy with the RKO. Fans were booing Randy Orton. Orton ends up going to the timekeepers area, brings in a few chairs. Orton ends up placing one chair under Matt's head, and then uses the other chair to smash, Matt's head, on the chair, like, what he did to Edge, 2 weeks ago. Same thing what he did to Edge. So, referees end up running down. Orton then drops the chair, which the chair was bent, and stands over Matt Hardy. Fans were booing. And pretty much that was basically, that. But it was pretty okay, decent segment from Matt Hardy and Randy Orton. Then we had Sarah Schreiber. She was backstage with Ruby Riott. She was asking Ruby Riott why she has so much animosity from her former partner, Liv Morgan. Ruby ends up telling Sarah Schreiber that Liv was her best friend, and best friends know everything about each other. Ruby ends up saying that she knows the real Liv, and she's like a little puppy dog on a leash. Ruby ended up saying that she's not buying this new Liv Morgan, who acts like she can strike when she wants to. she ended up calling Liv Morgan a follower. And she ended up coming back to put Liv in her place, to remind Liv that she strikes when she says so. Now it's basically the little interview with Ruby Riott. But looks like, we're going to get a match between Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. They're going to go at it. And then we had Aleister Black versus Akira Tozawa. This was a squash match. Aleister Black ended up winning the match. Black mass to Akira Tozawa. So this was a squash match, like I said. Aleister Black wins it. Then post-match, Aleister ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying that he's enjoyed these past few weeks, getting to share these intimate moments with fans. He says he's appreciative of every person here tonight, because that is what it's all about. Aleister ended up going on to say that everyone here tries to escape to their given idea of paradise, one way or another. And that he knows a thing or two about rebelling to paradise. And he ends up saying he's starting to feel like an animal inside a cage. So Aleister ends up taking a seat in the middle of the ring. Lights, the spotlight was on him. Aleister ends up saying, those who come out from now on should know it's not him in the ring with them. It's them who will be trapped in a cage with him. So that was pretty much what Aleister had to say. Then after that, Becky Lynch was shown walking back into the arena. She ends up coming back in the ambulance that she ended up taking. She made her way to the ring. So Becky came out, got in the ring. She ended up taking the mic. And she ends up saying, Becky ends up calling out Shayna. Becky ends up saying that Shayna got her attention. She ends up saying she doesn't care how tough Shayna is or who she hangs out with, because she's ran through them all. Becky ends up saying that she will break Baszler down week by week, little by little. And Becky ends up saying that Baszler better find her before she finds her first. So Becky ends up tossing the mic, exit the ring. And that was basically that. So Becky made her way back to the arena, ended up calling out Shayna. This is gonna be pretty cool to see, Becky and Shayna go. And then we had the main event. 8-man tag, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, and the Viking Raiders versus Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy, and AOP. And before the match got on the way, Seth Rollins ended up getting on the mic, and he ends up going to speak, and a big brawl ends up breaking out between the guys. Both teams end up going out to the floor, and mind you, the bell didn't even ring when this brawl was happening. So, but we've seen the guys go at it before. This was nothing new in this match. The match itself wasn't a bad match by any means. It was pretty okay match. So, but in the end, Seth Rollins ended up hitting the curb stomp to Samoa Joe, and Buddy Murphy ends up pinning Samoa Joe. So Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy, and AOP end up winning the match. And Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy, and AOP were on the ramp, and they all stand together. And pretty much that was basically how Monday Night Raw ended. But they went off the air really quick because it was 11 o'clock already. So, but the 8-man tag, we've seen the guys go at it before. There was nothing new that was in this match. Now is Monday Night Raw for tonight. But overall, I thought it was a very meh show, in my opinion. Not as good as how, the shows were, previous weeks. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until the next video, which will probably be the AEW Dynamite review on Wednesday. So until then, I will see you all later.